Welcome to the Blue Oasis Podcast. This is the podcast for finding peace and prosperity, learning the history of hobbies, as well as developing a little side hustle. If you want to find peace and prosperity in your life, this is your show. Get ready. You're listening to the Blue Oasis Podcast. I am your host, Adam Rothstein. All right, let's get to the show. And welcome back to the Blue Oasis Podcast. I am your host, Adam Rothstein. With me today is Marianne Hickman. Marianne, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me, Adam.
You are welcome. Okay, so tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I come from a big family of 10 kids, youngest of 10. I grew up in downtown Denver, Colorado, and now I am living here in Utah, beautiful Utah, love it here. And I'm in the business of teaching business owners and entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs, how to speak on stage and grow their business through the power of the stage.
Nice. Yeah. So why did you go into public speaking?
Well, the funny thing is, I went into public speaking because I was really bad at it. I was a little kid. I was, like I said, youngest of 10. And one of my biggest struggles was that I never felt heard. I never felt like I was in charge. In fact, my sister right now is going through my mom's journals. And my mom she's 80 years old now, and she kept a daily record, daily, of everything that went on when she was when raising us. And when I was a little kid, apparently this is about when I was 7 years old, I asked my mom a question. She recorded it in her journal. And she said to me that let me frame it up this way. She asked me a question. She said, "Hey, are you doing okay? Everything all right?" I'm like, "No, I don't feel like I ever get to be in charge. When do I get to be the boss?" Because I'm 7 years old. I'm handed off to babysitters. My older siblings are taking care of me. So I said, "Hey, mom, when do I get to be the boss?" And she did the best she could as a mom, and probably doesn't even remember this, but she said, "Never. You're the youngest." Ugh. And as a mom of 6 kids myself, I get it. There are just times when we're so overstimulated and we're so done with questions that we just want to make sure we can get to the most urgent thing next. But I think that I internalized that more than I thought I did. And so as a grown up, I was constantly seeking for opportunities to be in charge, to be the boss of my own time. And, that took me from job to job to job where I always, got promoted to supervisor or manager or whatever it was. But eventually this W-2 bubble popped and I thought, I need to run my own business. I need to be in charge of my own time. I need to do this on my own, not alone, because no one ever builds a business alone successfully. But I've got to really find a way to be in charge of my own time. And that's how the whole thing started.
Nice. I have one older sister, and I could not imagine having another 8 other siblings on top of that. But I was the youngest, and I was never in charge, really in charge of anything significant at all.
Yeah.
I was passed up for promotions at work too, but I found audiobooks and I enjoyed doing that. Um, so, which leads me to my next question. Have you ever narrated? So with public speaking, just curious, have you ever narrated an audiobook before? And what advice, uh, have you ever narrated an audiobook before?
I haven't. I'm actually in the process of producing my own though. And I've had a couple friends that have produced their own books and they've done both. They've narrated their own and they have actually hired narrators. And I even had one instance where someone paid, it was like $15,000 when AI was just emerging and becoming new. They paid $15,000 for the AI mechanism to learn their voice so that they could just type the book in and have the AI replicate their voice and have the AI narrate it for them using their own voice. And I will say this, the books that I have enjoyed the most listening to, because I'm like you, I'm an avid reader and audio reader. My every room that I'm in is full of books and my phone is full of books. Every book that I have enjoyed the most, whether I'm listening to it or reading it, is the author's voice and the author's words. I'm in the middle of one by Mel Robbins right now. It's called Let Them. I love that Mel is telling her own story. I love that she cares enough to tell her own story because I don't know if you've ever done this before, but reading your own audiobook is hard. You've got little water breaks and cough takes, and you end up probably reading the book 3 times before you get a full start to finish cut of the thing. So yeah, when I my book gets published, I don't know when that's going to be. I'm not making any promises, but I've written 17 short books, but it's time for my big one. When that gets done, you better believe 100% I'm going to be doing that with my own voice.
So I've narrated 5 audiobooks. One was for a client, then I did 4 on my own. I sold 900, but I only made $500 because some of those were rentals. I have to tell you that it is very hard to do. The audio, just editing in Audacity and doing and just showing people how to do this seems easy. But when you're actually in the booth, when you're in your bedroom like I am, you need to be practicing. You need to be drinking a lot of water. If you're gonna
Yep.
have a cup of coffee, you need to have 2 glasses so you're not doing that. That's not good. But
Yep.
and you need to do that on stage too. You don't want to hear a lot of ticks. And but I'll tell you this, it is whether it's animation or even audio, we want to see we want to have something organic, and I think that's something that we're just losing today. I mean, we're not going to have James Earl Jones in the booth performing Darth Vader or Mufasa again, but we'll have him as AI. And I do, and and maybe that's understandable. But when you have someone like Peter Cullen, you know, organic voices are just better.
They really are. And I want to ask you, Adam. I know that you've narrated books before and you have some experience in this, or my son calls it XP, right? But when you're narrating books, do you find that while you're talking, you're tempted to go a little bit off script, especially if it's your own book? You know, it's somebody else's book, you're just going to read straight from the page. But if you're reciting or reading your own material, I feel like I would be tempted to go on a side tangent and just kind of do an expose, or I guess you could call it a bonus piece in the audiobook world. But I mean, is that an issue for you? Things that make you think, or are you just so committed to reading the words on the page?
Can be committed to reading the words, but I'll make a mistake. I'll add thing. I can add things in there unintentionally, and I could just mess up a word or not have the right emphasis. It's very hard. I'm doing an audiobook now on MLB stadiums, um, and even just narrating something like Mile High Stadium can be just very frustrating too, because I have to talk about, you know, the Bears and what that stadium was there, and the not the Chicago Bears, but the minor league affiliate uh, baseball team there,
Hmm.
and I even have to mention the Broncos a little bit, or if an NFL team played there, I have to mention it there too. So it's not easy, but it's worth it
Yeah.
too, and it's a skill that um is the foundation for good communication.
Oh, that's funny. You mentioned Mile High. That's my old stomping grounds, born and raised in downtown Denver. I know all about those stadiums.
Yeah. And then I have Coors Field too, but there was no those are the only two state MLB stadiums that were ever built
Yeah.
there. Uh so um so what were your struggles coming up?
Coming up?
Yeah, when going into your career and becoming a public speaker.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's plenty, and I don't think they're over. That's the important thing. I don't think we're ever done with our struggles. The question is, how strong do we get? I have a lot of experience going to the gym, and that's something that's become really, really important to me. And it's life lessons every time I go. So you'll hear me use gym analogies all the time. But one of my biggest struggles with breaking into the industry, it's hard to break into. I think if you, when you take yourself seriously and when you're a professional, you have this level at which you assign yourself, right? I'm at this level and I'm waiting to break into the next level, be considered friends or peers with other big names in the industry who I take seriously. I want to be taken seriously just like they do. It's a mental shift, really. That's this place where we feel this way. And when I was, going in my journey of public speaking, I started like when I was 5. I was speaking at church, right? I didn't know that I was public speaking, but I was up in front of a podium in front of kids and teachers. And then that continued when I was 12 and I got some more practice, but I didn't even feel like I had no idea that it could be a career or a job, in other words. So when I went through school and studied and did all these things, it started to pull at me, but I didn't know what was doing the pulling because the term influencer and the term public speaker, they either didn't exist or I didn't know what they were. And when I started going to work, I was working for other people. Like I said, I was really good at getting jobs. I was really good at being promoted. I was really good at rising to my rank, but that glass ceiling kept smacking me in the face. And I went to college with this kind of just this, I'm supposed to do this feeling, but I'm not excited about it. I had watched all my 9 older siblings, who are brilliant people, by the way. They all went to college. They all got degrees. Some of them are actually teaching at those colleges now, master's degrees galore. And here I am. I started a family very young. I was 18 when I first got married. I started having kids at 20. And here I am. I'll never forget this moment. I was sitting in my Italian class because at the college that I went to, just like many other colleges, you have to get a certain number of general electives and a bunch of credits in order to graduate. So I just started to look around. I wanted to go to college so that I could start a photography business, but I had already started a photography business before I applied to go to college. Okay, so there's red flag number 1. I already did what I wanted to do. Red flag number 2, I started to look at the earning income for all of my professors. What does a professor earn? What do they earn? And none of it was up to where I wanted to earn. I wanted to earn more than what they were earning. And so I thought to myself, how can someone teach me to grow my business to the point where I want it if that's not what they're doing right now? It doesn't make sense. You can't. You can teach me how to be a college professor, but unless you've got experience doing what I want to do, there's no possible way you could teach me. Right? So there's red flag number 2. Red flag number 3 is I'm sitting there in my Italian class. I don't know how many of you have studied Italian, but it is such a beautiful language riddled with all of these. Oh my gosh, there's 3 different ways to speak in past tense. And I'm sitting there with my notebook open. I'm pregnant with my 5th baby. I'm 10 years older than everybody else in my class because as I've had kids while I go to school, I take semesters off and so forth. And I'm looking at this book, this textbook, the one that I spent $80 on, stacked on top of the other textbook that I spent $80 on. And I'm sitting here studying the passato prossimo and I'm not getting it and it's not clicking. And I look up and I look around and I'm like, I don't think I belong here. I don't think that I am meant to be in this room right now. I've spent 10 years going to school between the semesters I've taken off to have babies and raise my kids. And I'm 12 and a half credits short of graduating. And I don't think I'm going to finish because it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't feed what I'm doing. And this is one of the most primary lessons that I learned. And I paid a lot of college tuition to learn the lesson that I never learned within the walls of that university. And this is the lesson. Don't take advice from people whose results you don't want. My Italian professor, they can teach me Italian. Well, I know that they know how to do that because they speak Italian. But can they teach me to build a business? No. Why am I studying that class? Because someone told me that I had to in order to get the piece of paper on the wall to say that I'm smart enough to earn whatever job. And I have a prediction right now. I've seen enough evidence to, I think colleges and universities are going to see a significant downturn, if not complete obsolescence within the next decade. In fact, I don't even think it's going to take that long. But really, that's when I stepped into my own and saying, you know what, it's my turn. Let's start my own business. Let's stop listening to people. They might be really, really good people, but they can't get me where I want to go. And so I hired a mentor to do it.
There's in this one. At 18, I was a little bit concerned about just playing in college hockey, and I was not as focused on academics maybe as I should have been early on. But had I been rejected by Towson University, I think it would have really benefited me to learn from someone who was either doing computer science or even just discover this. I discovered this in late 2019, early 2020, the audiobooks and podcasting, I would have benefited just like a one-on-one, or even like maybe just one person just teaching me something, but it's not in a classroom setting. Like I need to have hands-on training. And I think that is what we're going to see in the future. And you don't even need to go to college to be a web developer. You know that? You just go
Yep.
to W3 schools or something, and just pay maybe a few $100, and if you don't like it, you're not in debt tens of thousands of dollars.
Yep, exactly. Oh my gosh. I can, this moment when they brought us in and they're like, hey, so here's how to pay off your college debt in 20 years so that in 20 years you'll be at zero. You kidding me? You want me to work for 20 years to get to zero to pay off the tuition it took me 4 years to, something's not right here. This is not making sense.
Tell you this, I worked a lot of overtime uh, at the job I currently have. I sold my trains, I sold my video games, I found other ways to make money. I and everything, and I just didn't go out much at all. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna put all my savings down. I'm taking out like 10,000 in my savings, or what I have saved, just putting it on this debt. And on like December 31st, 2019, I paid $1,483.76. I remember that to the number, and I was like, oh, and I never spoke to Great Lakes Loans again.
That feeling of freedom and also simultaneously is the feeling of I think I just got ripped off. And it's crazy.
Yeah.
People never, they don't think twice about, the tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars it takes to go to school and they end up with some poetry degree, but then they hesitate to invest in themselves with the digital courses. And I get it. I get it. With college comes accreditation, right? When you go to college, you're learning from professors that are really smart. They've probably written their own books. They probably published their own books that you have to buy as part of taking their classes. But when you go to, people on the street that are coaches, you have to do your due diligence. And there are plenty of scammers out there. There are plenty of people that don't even believe that they're scammers that are just trying to build a business, but they don't have the credibility or the results to back it up. And those are the people we should not be investing in. Go get your credibility, go get your results, and then jump into coaching. Don't jump into the coaching scene if you don't have anything to back yourself up with, because you will be a flash in the pan and then you'll be broke pretty quick, if not in jail. I've seen people go to jail for selling things that they don't actually have. But it's so insane when people are so willing to throw money at college, but not into their own customized education. And that's what I think is turning on its head.
Now, I wouldn't call myself an actual coach, but I'm very good at the technical aspects of teaching people what um, the standards of the ACX standards of how to meet the audiobook standards and produce that. So, I mean, I could probably teach anyone off the street like fresh new, but I wouldn't call myself a coach. And I do this for free. I put it on YouTube. And that's what I do to help people. And it's just comes to me naturally.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you teach people how to do it, but I'm supposing if someone asks you to record their book, you charge for that, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'll like my standard rate is $200 per finished hour, because and if they want, hey, uh I want some assurance that you're going to do this right, then I'll just point them to the audiobooks I produced, and
Exactly.
the videos that I've produced, and saying that, hey, this I've been doing this. Here are the standards. Here's how to set up the ACX macro in Audacity. Here's the standards. Here's how to make your microphone sound more professional than it does, and all these things. And then I can say, hey, um, I think you're going to be satisfied with the result I give you.
Yeah, yeah. And so you've got, yeah, I mean, you got exactly what I'm talking about here. You have a track record, you have proof, you have evidence, you have experience. And so if when people hire you, They know exactly what they're getting as an end result of it. And then I love what you're doing, what, Alex Hormozy talks about, which is put your stuff out there for free. Teach people how to do it for free. I do the same thing. I have so much content out there teaching you how to get on stage, be a speaker, monetize your message, and that's all free. When it comes to buying my time, that's when we start to pay. And that's the way it should be for anybody. We shouldn't ever necessarily work for free or sacrifice our family for free. Yes, make resources available, but the moment that it requires my time, that's when we have an exchange.
Of course. But yeah, and then finding that threshold of what you should charge um, can be difficult to find. I mean, I do $200 per finished hour because it's the run time first of all, and also it's going to take me more than an hour to record an hour of audio. It's going to take me, easily 3 or 4. Plus, I have to truncate the audio, and I have to make sure that the output is an MP3 file, mono track, and I also have to make sure it sounds as professionally as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not doing this in a studio. I'm not renting out a studio just to produce an audiobook that's 3 hours long. Yeah, I mean, and I'd be paying $50 an hour easily just to be in a
Yep.
studio.
Yeah, and that's before Final Cut time.
Absolutely. Certainly muted myself there. So, what is the most common mistake people make when trying to use speaking engagements to grow their business, and how can they avoid this?
So I would say easily the most common mistake is succumbing to stage fright. Here's the thing with stage fright. When you're in stage fright, it is all about ego. 100% absolutely unequivocally. Because think about it, when we have stage fright and we don't take the stage, it's because we're thinking about this. Oh my gosh, what if I have a stain on my shirt, or what if I forget my lines, or what if my keynote doesn't work, or what if I pee my pants on stage? Doesn't matter, I've done it before. All of these things that keep us in our head. What if me, I, what if I fail? And then when we're stuck in that stage fright, we forget the reason that we got on stage in the first place. When you get on stage, the best speakers get on stage in order to serve the people in front of them. I don't need an ego trip on stage. I don't need to be built up or buttered up in any way. The fact that you're on stage says that you've earned the right to be there. That's it. That's all you need. And so you don't need to have stage fright. You don't need to be worried about anything. Heck, your fly could be down the whole time. Who cares? You're on that stage and you're human. So yeah, you're going to mess up, but have fun with it. We have mess up. I just had a mess up in this conversation right now. Who freaking cares? It doesn't matter. We just are there to serve our audience. The other precipitory factor from this stage fright is when you get on stage and you have the stage fright, it reduces the quality of your keynote. However, if you neglect getting on stage because you have stage fright and you're feeding this egocentric stage fright, then you are now robbing the world of whatever it is on your heart. You may have survived maybe you're a single mom and you survived parenthood with 5 kids like me, and you want to help other moms do it, but you're so afraid of the stage that you never talk about it. Those people that would have been in your audience, they now go without. Chances are they're going to continue looking for a mentor and you just won't be there. Maybe they'll find another one, but chances are they'll just go without. So when we get so self-absorbed in our own worries about myself and me, and I, we forget our audience, we neglect our audience, and sometimes we don't even show up for our audience. So how do we overcome it? It's forget yourself and go to work. This is a saying that I heard from one of my favorite church leaders in my church, is just forget yourself and go to work. You've already earned it. That's not saying you should neglect yourself. I'm not saying you should not take care of yourself and not drink plenty of water and not take care of your needs at home and not, charge for your time. That's not what I'm saying. But when a time comes to show up on stage, remember who your audience is. Remember why you're there. In fact, when I get on stage on most stages, especially live stages, digital or physical, I'm saying, why are you here, audience member? What did you come to this seminar to get? What are you hoping to get out of my keynote? And oftentimes I will completely abandon my slides in my keynote because it's not what the audience actually needs. I'm not here to just push information down anybody's throat. I'm here to give you what you came for, if at all possible. I had this happen just last week. I was invited to come speak at a co-op for um, homeschooling moms. I'm a homeschooling mom. It was great. I get to this event, and the director of the event was so generous. She's like, "Hey, we're so happy to have you. This is the venue. This is so great." And I looked around at the audience, and I kind of got a little bit concerned. My eyebrows knit together. And because I noticed the audience wasn't just homeschooling moms, there were some there, but the audience also included all of their kids, which is great. But my keynote is now obsolete because the kids don't care what I was going to tell the moms. 70% of my audience was from ages 7 to 18 years old. And I only knew this at the drop of a hat right when I got to the venue. And so I had to pivot my entire keynote. I didn't even pull up any slides whatsoever. I got up on that stage in front of all the kids and some of their moms, and I said, "Tell me what you're here for. What are you hoping to do? I'm going to be here for an hour. Why did you come to this building, sit in this room, in that chair for the next hour, and what do you need to get out of it?" And I pivoted my keynote to serve the room. And that's what I hope every business owner, every entrepreneur, everyone that ever wants to get on stage, I hope you're hearing me right now. Ask the room, ask them what they need, and then deliver that, because they might not need your keynote. They might need something better.
Something better. Absolutely. To be honest with you, I do always tend to write questions so I can stay on track with guests. But sometimes it just takes, you know, it, the river meanders. Is that the right term?
Yeah, the
Uh,
meandering river. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. It just goes a different path, and you're on this other trajectory. And sometimes you need that. Sometimes, you know, a river bend just dries up, and you have to go on a different stream. So.
absolutely.
So what would you say is, oh yeah, well, we just talked about that. So specifically keynotes, how can a well-delivered keynote turn into a revenue generating opportunity for a speaker or entrepreneur?
Okay, this is a great question because a lot of speakers get up on stage and they don't know how to convert it. Also, most speakers think the money that's made in public speaking is solely through speaker fees. And I'm here to tell you that you are ripping yourself off if you think all your revenue is going to come through speaker fees. I mean, we see these speakers, they charge, 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, 15. I charge $30,000 for a keynote. However, I am way more interested in giving a resource to the audience that then will bring me revenue because I have audience enrollment than I am my speaker fee. So I had a friend of mine who was a perfect example. A buddy of mine, Tony, was actually slated. His speaker fee is 20,000, and he was invited by this company to come speak. And he said, "Great, my speaker fee is 20,000 plus travel and lodging." And he said, "However, I'm willing to waive that if I can give a free resource to your audience," which 99 out of 100 times the organizer will go for because it's going to save him $20,000, right? But this event venue is like, "No, we don't want you to give anything to the audience. We don't want you collecting emails or anything like that. We're just going to pay your speaker fee." So Tony did. He took the 20,000, airfare, accommodations, showed up, delivered, and left, and that was it. He was done. But now we're in an, if we stick with this model and we think that's the only model, we're now in an unsustainable model. Now Tony's smart. He knows this, but his speaker fee is such that it's worth his time, even if he doesn't get to do a call to action. I've actually outlined there's a 10-step blueprint for your signature keynote that not only makes it a profitable keynote, even if you're not taking a speaker fee, and sometimes more profitable since you didn't take a speaker fee, but also teaches you how to tell your story in an impactful way so the audience is better off. And then you've got your story, your content pieces, but the most important part of this that I want to zoom in on is the CTA, the call to action. This is the thing that converts your audience. I was just sitting with my members this morning, and Liz Watt, she owns a Be Healthy conference. And her call to action, she took my blueprint and she did it, and she got 100% enrollment from the room. That means everyone in the room pulled out their phones, they scanned her QR code, they got her free giveaway, and now she owns their information. She's got their name, their address, their email. I mean, we just saw TikTok kind of do a mini explosion on the 19th of January this year. It was at risk of going away. I mean, I've had naps longer than TikTok was actually down, but it's a really good indicator to us that TikTok, Instagram, all of these platforms, they are rented space. And if they go down, or if you lose access, or you get hacked, you don't own your audience. You want to own your own email list so that when it comes time to, like you're doing, I need to record some more audiobooks. I need to get more clients. I have my own people that know, like, and trust me to talk to about it, to find my ideal clients about it. And they are going to get to the point, if it's the right product for them, to where they're saying, shut up and take my money. So if you want to get on stage, you must have a call to action ready to go. And that's what I give away in my book. I mean, if your audience wants it, I'm happy to give it to them as well.
Absolutely. If you can, yeah, I'll put that in the show notes. The link to the PDF of you, of your PDF.
Yeah, you bet. You bet.
Um, all that when it comes to email subscribers, a lot of Gen Z kids. Well, I was born in '94, but a lot of Gen Z kids are like, "You still use email? What are you at work, working a 9 to 5?" And I'm like, "No, it's not." The- Substack work is a great example of this, but people love to get it in their inbox too because they're
Hmm.
not necessarily going on Substack every day, but they'll check their emails and they could also, if they really wanted to, they could listen to an article on their phones through the Substack app if they
Yep.
really wanted to. And the call to action that you could set up on Substack is having your top article or what people would want to read most. And then you can funnel them into your email list. And then after that, you can gain more subscribers because you'll gain more notoriety on the platform.
Exactly. Exactly.
Any closing thoughts you want to give?
Well, I would just say this. If you feel called to write a book, if you feel called to get on stage, spend 15 minutes dedicated to that before you go to bed tonight. Just give it a shot, give it a try. Many of us that want to get on stage or want to write books, we put it off for so long because we should on ourselves and we say, I can't, and we give up on it. And more often than not, we've had these books inside of us for years. We've had these presentations inside of us for years. We've had these dreams inside of us for years. And if you're not growing, you're dying, which means if you're not taking action and putting time, energy, and effort toward your dreams, then it is gathering dust and you're just losing time. You might run out of time before you see it to come to fruition. So knock it off and put 15 minutes at least toward what you want to do. Schedule it out, block it off and down your calendar so that nobody else can schedule anything over it. Get out there, put yourself on stage. It can be as simple as going on Instagram Live and just make it happen.
And I'm glad I took that risk in my 20s because now I have transferable skills too now because the audio side of things, making picture audiobooks, it works so well in a day job too. But yes, to your point of spend 15 minutes on this, to anyone who wants to record an audiobook, just take your favorite book and just read the first few pages for 15 minutes, and you will get a lot of practice out of that. You don't have to necessarily record yourself, but just reading it aloud, you'll know when you're not going to not emphasize a word correctly or have a mispronunciation of something. You'll you'll know your habits better, and then when you're ready, be sure to drink lots of water, and then hop on Audacity and just begin recording, and there you go.
Awesome. Amen to that.
Yeah, I have to build out a new website for that. Um I'll probably find something that I can do with that or use Substack for an email for a new email list, but I mean I even wrote a book on how to do that too. That's actually available on Amazon if you're interested.
Awesome. Yeah.
So, yeah. Um, okay. Anything else you'd like to promote? We have the PDF, Marianne Hickman, free gift, slash mariannehickman.com/free gift. That's in that's in my chat right now. Anything else you would like to promote? Instagram, TikTok, YouTube?
Sure. Yeah, you can find me on all those places. I'm just Marianne Hickman. If you search that up, my name is pretty unique, so I'm easy to find. If you go to Instagram, Marianne _Hickman, I'm in there. But if you go to my website, go grab that free book. If you ever thought about getting on stage, like Adam said, mariannehickman.com/free gift. That's going to be my 12-page guidebook to teach you how to master your signature keynote so that you can start making money on stage as a coach.
Absolutely. And if you would like to support this podcast, be sure to check out my audiobooks. I'm trying to hit the 1,000 mark in the next few weeks. So you will have Growing Hockey, my one of my personal favorites that I did, Growing Baseball, Chess, the Game for Peace and Prosperity, and my latest, Determination, Harnessing the Power of Resilience. So if you are nervous about public speaking, just there's a determination. There's an audiobook for positive thinking that was produced by yours truly. And also be
Awesome.
sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and and the baseball Substack if you want the new baseball audiobook coming out soon. All right. I guess that's it. Is there anything else that you wanted to say?
No, I just appreciate you having me.
Of course. All right. Okay, everyone. Uh, I'll see you all in the next episode. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, rate this 5 stars. Let me know what you think of it. And share it with all your friends and family. And I will see you all in the next episode. Peace out.